behind Bodkins came from the fact that my son had been really unwell and had been taking multiple courses of antibiotics. And antibiotics are wonderful drugs at combating bacterial infections, and that's great. But the side effects can be that they can upset your stomach and your gut, because obviously what they also do is they can compromise good bacteria in your gut. And your gut essentially has a sort of protective layer of good bacteria to help fight off disease and illness and infection. But if that's compromised, obviously the result is, not feeling well and having stomach problems. And this was what was happening to my son. So I went on a bit of a mission to find products and food that would help to replenish and rejuvenate his gut and provide him with probiotics and good bacteria. So fermentation is this amazing process. It's been going on for millennia, and essentially it was done because it preserved food, but now we've discovered that in this process of preserving food, it actually makes the food super rich and nutritious. And essentially it's a very simple process. So you're taking your raw vegetables and you add a little bit of salt and you deprive it of oxygen, and what then happens is you make the environment that inhibits bad bacteria, which would make your food rot, and it facilitates the growth of good bacteria. So really fermentation is just a process by which you are generating really good bacteria that's good for you and for your gut. And there are other benefits that come from fermentation, which are, it makes it rich in vitamins B and C, and B is great for making red blood cells, and C is for tissue growth. It also is rich in digestive enzymes, and as you age, you don't produce as many enzymes, so it's great to take on board through your food digestive enzymes. And also through the fermentation process, the starches and sugars in the vegetables get broken down, so actually it ends up with less sugar in it. So at the end of it, you end up with a lovely, rich, tangy tasting product, which is a fantastic condiment to go with pretty much any food, but it's also incredibly, incredibly rich in nutritional benefits. And I think, there are obviously other methods of preservation like pasteurization, which heat food, but that ultimately can compromise the nutritional value of the food. So the great thing about fermentation, it's a natural preserving process, but it gives the food huge amounts of nutritional benefits too. So once I'd got into fermenting vegetables, I'd done it very much for my son, because obviously I wanted him to have nutritionally beneficial foods that were rich in probiotics, and so he started eating them, which was great, but then everyone else was piling in. So then my daughter and my husband were really enjoying them too, because they are a lovely condiment to have with food, and they really do complement any food. So then I was giving them to other members of the family, and then my friends are having them, and the feedback was basically really positive, because they do taste really, really nice. So it's not just that they're really good for you, they do also taste lovely. So I just started to snowball, and I was just making more and more and more, and so I just thought, well, I should probably start thinking about selling it to other people, because I know how good for you it is, and that it actually tastes really nice. So that's really what happened. So I shred a lot of cabbage and vegetables, and my children wander in and sort of going, oh, cabbaging again, mum. And yeah, so that's how it's taken off. So now we're selling in markets and other food festivals, and starting to have conversations with delis and health food shops as well. Obviously your basic vegetables you tend to ferment are cabbage, but what we've now done is started to add some really nice flavours to it. So there's a white cabbage with rosemary, or a white cabbage with cumin and fennel, and it gives it a really lovely rich taste. And then I've also started to make a kimchi, which is with carrot and ginger and garlic and chili. So after the fermentation process, which takes about 3 weeks, when you start to try that, you've got this lovely tangy flavour to the product, but it also has these undercurrents of all these other sort of herbs and spices as well, which really gives it a really nice kind of organoleptic complexity as well. I think people are more and more open to it and aware of the benefits of fermented food, because you are finding that shops are now stocking kombucha and kefir, which are also fermented. So there is an awareness now that fermented foods are good for you. And I was talking to an American guy recently at one of the markets, and he was saying, in America, it's super popular, and there would be lots of stores like ours with fermented vegetables. And I think it is picking up pace and the momentum's coming. And I think that people, I don't know whether it's our lifestyles, but I think people are suffering quite a lot with gut ill health, and it obviously has repercussions for your general well-being. So I think there is a real need to make sure that people are having very nutritionally rich foods within their diet, and obviously fermented vegetables provide that.